Position playing third base, Chris Sabo. The center fielder will hit second, Billy Hatcher. Hitting the third spot, shortstop, Barry Larkin. The left fielder today, Glenn Braggs, he will hit cleanup. Second baseman, Mariano Decken, will hit fifth, followed by Todd Benzinger at first base. The right fielder will be Paul O'Neill, he will hit seventh. The catcher for today is Joe Oliver, hitting the eighth spot, and the pitcher in the final spot, Jose Rijo.
And how about Mr. Lee Brandt, the starter for the Atlanta Braves?
Mr. Charlie Lee Brandt, veteran left-hander, former Red. He unfortunately has a loss to his credit, no wins at this point. He's got a great ERA, 3.75. This is his third start.
Charlie, 1-0 lifetime against Cincinnati. Of course, a fellow who began his career in the Cincinnati organization, 34 years old, out of Chicago. Now makes his home in Leawood, Kansas, outside of Kansas City. Last year was 9-11 for the Braves with a 3.16 ERA, and that ERA all that more impressive when you consider that Atlanta had the worst earned run average in all of Major League Baseball as a team staff. So Charlie going to work on Chris Sabo to get us started here in Atlanta. First pitch taken high for a ball, and this game is underway.
I'll tell you one thing that's tremendously impressive about him, Marty, is he walks very few hitters. He averaged 1.94 an inning last year, a ball game, and his career is a less than 2.
1-0 pitch, and off the end of the bat to even the count. Yeah, the 1.94 walks per 9 was the fourth best mark in Major League Baseball last year, behind Danny Darwin, Ed Whitson, and Minnesota left-hander Alan Anderson. So you know when you hit off Lee Brandt that he's going to be right around that plate. 2 balls and 1 strike to the 286 batting Sabo, who's homered a couple of times and has driven in 6 runs.
He's an extremely tough at bat for a left-hander. Left-handers only hit .210 against him last year.
The pitch, and it evens at 2-2. Meanwhile, down in the Cincinnati bullpen, Jose Rijo, you just got a quick look at him, has just now concluded his warm-ups and in the process of making his way to the Cincinnati dugout. No decision the last time Charlie went to the mound against the Houston Astros. 2-2 pitch and a full count.
I'm sure the Reds are looking forward to having some base runners today, because one thing that Charlie doesn't do, he doesn't hold runners very well at first base. His move at first base is very bad. 24 attempts last year, 21 of the runners stole on him.
Well, you can bet the Reds will be running today if they get the right people aboard. And Sabo is one of them, and he's drawn a leadoff walk. So we spend quite a bit of time talking about Charlie Lee Brandt's ability to not allow folks to get on base the easy way, and he promptly walks the leadoff batter.
Well, he's allowed less than a half one next time up. So.
Here's Billy Hatcher, center fielder today, batting in the number 2 spot. We're moving Billy up to that second spot in the order in hopes of getting him on track, batting .080, and has driven in 1 run. Sabo with a short lead against the holding Bream at first. And Hatcher thought about putting a bunt down, but takes it high, ball 1.
Seen Billy in that center field spot today with Eric out of the lineup. Boy, who can never forget what the job he did in center field last year when Eric was down.
Well, it was one of the great stories of the 1990 baseball season, how this guy went from left field to center field. There were those who actually maintained that when Bill came over in that trade with Pittsburgh that he could not adequately play center field. And he put those thoughts to rest very quickly. He probably did a better job than most people ever thought he would do.
There are not too many Eric Davis, but I'll tell you what, Billy Hatcher did a great job.
Yes, he did. He's in front as he waits on the 1-0 pitch, and Lee Brandt continues to pay attention to Chris Sabo. Charlie, as we mentioned, 34 years old. He comes out of the Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, where he was 23-17. While establishing several school records up in Oxford. 2 balls and no strikes, and Olson now is going to walk the ball back to the mound, or is he? Nope, he'll just go out close enough for Lee Brandt to hear what he has to impart on the Atlanta left-hander, and heads back toward the plate.
Charlie was voted in the Miami Ohio Sports Hall of Fame back in February '88, so they respect him up there too.
Played under Bud Middaugh, who of course left Miami later and went on to the University of Michigan, where he did such a fine coaching job. 2-0 the count. And another throw on to first. Defensively, Atlanta has Sid Bream at first, Jeff Treadway at second, the shortstop Rafael Belliard, and over at third base and a bit shallow Terry Pendleton. Their outfield from left to right, Deion Sanders, Ronnie Gann, and David Justice. Greg Olson behind the plate. And Mr. Hatcher a pitch away from getting the second of what would be back-to-back walks. How do you figure?
That's the truth. Funny game, maybe we say it every night.
Well, Charlie with uncharacteristic control problems here out of the chute. You can bet the Ranch Hatcher will be taking here. Larkin on deck. A strike is called. 3-1. The plate umpire is Dana DeMuth at first. Greg Bonet at second. Bruce Spanky Fremming. And over at third base, Eddie Montague.
I'll tell you one thing, you can take a pretty good odds on this Mr. Sabo leaving right now, too.
3 balls a strike. Keep an eye on Chris. Leibrandt checks him out. Sabo was running on the pitch. Justice running hard for the ball and makes a fine running catch in foul territory. Excellent catch on the dead run by David Justice.
And once again, we mentioned it, Marty, you can run for a day after catching balls in foul territory. He came a long way to get to the ball, and there's a lot of foul territory.
So after coming within 1 pitch of issuing back-to-back walks, he gets a call strike in and then induces Hatcher to foul out to Justice and right.
Boy, this young man put a pretty good charge in one last night, didn't he?
Every one he's hit so far, numbering 3, have been tagged. Last night, way out of here to left center, his 3rd of the season. Club leader. And Leibrandt stretching and will do it again. This reminder, this season, every time Barry gets a hit, Cellular One and Crest will make a donation to the Caring Program for Children. And as always, Community Mutual will match each donation dollar for dollar. This means when Barry gets a hit, needy Ohio children will be able to receive routine health care benefits for the entire year, thanks to Barry Larkin, Cellular One, Crest, and Community Mutual. You can join the team by calling 1-800-548-KIDS to make a donation.
Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. Here we go again. Barry Larkin pulls that ball left, and look how far Mr. Sanders is playing over in left center.
They give him a ton of room to left field. And Leibrandt continues to wage a war on 2 fronts with Sabo at first, and now with Larkin at the plate, who's down a strike.
He really must count on his speed to catch up with that ball.
Well, he's got a pretty good amount of it now. Sabo has been broken on 1 pitch, and that was a pitch that Hatcher fouled a right on. Other than that, he's been staying at home, and Leibrandt tried to make doubly sure that he stays there, repeatedly throwing over. Strike 2 call, and that time he had Sabo retreating to the bag as he came to the plate. And despite the fact that he's rather slow coming home, as Gordy mentioned, it makes him prone to guys running successfully on him. Being a left-hander, if you can get that runner with that move back toward the bag, then you can pretty much take away any threat that he'll be running. And right now he's throwing over just enough to keep Chris honest.
Boy, speaking of keeping honest, last night Heath behind it kept him pretty honest, didn't he? 3 out of 4.
And I talked to Lou about that going back to the hotel last night. He said, hey, we'll keep running. They'll keep having to try and throw us out. 1 ball, 2 strikes. I can't remember a catcher, thinking back to last year, that had the kind of success in 1 game throwing Reds runners out that Mike Heath had last night.
And the ball he missed on with O'Neill was right on the money.
Got the ball there in time. Not the best of tags in the world by Belliard, and Paul was able to sneak in. Backhanded by Pendleton. And the throw to second in time as Sabo tried to put a rolling block on Rafael Belliard.
He really went after it.
They would not have had time to turn the double play. Sabo would have certainly had no way of knowing that. So you can say with no fear of argument that Chris did his job.
He knows only one way to play this game, Marty. He plays it hard.
Inning continues for left fielder Glenn Braggs. We mentioned at the top of the telecast about Glenn hitting in the unfamiliar cleanup spot today. Even more so when you look at those numbers. A 105 batting average, 3 RBIs, a home run, the 1 long ball coming off of Atlanta's Baron Gare in Cincinnati.
You know, Marty, at the end of spring training, the last couple of ball games, it looked like, Braggs had really found his stroke because he was really tattooing the ball. But unfortunately, it's gone south.
Well, the talk all spring during the spring schedule was the fact that Glenn was not swinging the bat well. Then when he started to tune up about 5-6 days before the season started, they figured he had picked the right time to get going. But boy, once the bell rang, he reverted back to the problems that he experienced for most of the spring down in Florida. But of course, as we pointed up, on other telecasts, it certainly does not make him unique. There's a whole bunch of other guys on this club struggling also at the plate. I'll tell you one thing, when Lee Brandt pitches, unlike the left-hander we saw here last night in Tom Browning, you better not have any plans.
Don't put the roast on.
No, sir. Because he will keep you around for a while and is awfully good for the concession business. Out of play, and Bragg's behind 2 strikes and nothing.
Now, when we flew into this town Friday, it sure didn't look like it was going to be a very nice weekend for baseball. We were talking about, they were talking about rain and the whole bit, and here we go to the 3rd ball game, haven't missed a pitch.
If somebody had told me that we'd have played Friday night and Saturday night, because the forecast for today was good, and as it turned out, no problems Friday night, no problems last night, and overcast and rather chilly here today. Breaking ball missing. The Reds have now pushed their record to 2 over 500 at 6-4. They are but 1 back of division leading San Diego, who last night hung a 5-3 loss on the Dodgers. LA is now 2.5 games back. 1-2 the count on Braggs. Larkin at first, 2 out, and it evens at 2-2. Take a look at that thermometer. Just a bit above the 60-degree mark and rather breezy.
Just a lovely day down here with the Magnolia.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not too bad, Martin. Come on now. Come on, Martin.
Well, you can handle a much cooler weather than most folks. Lee Brandt with a break-even pitch, and he's having problems getting that curveball over here in the 1st inning. And while it's just a shade over 60 degrees here, we understand it's around 50 degrees with rain in the Queen City. So given that alternate weather situation, we have to consider ourselves fortunate that we have what we have here in Atlanta, Georgia. Larkin will be running. Ball 4. Second walk served up by Charlie Lee Brandt, and he'll go to work on second baseman Mariano Duncan.
This is certainly uncharacteristic of Charlie.
You know, Lee Brandt's one of those fortunate guys who have been around for a while and has reached an age where maybe a pitcher starts to lose just a little bit of that pop off of his fastball. In Lee Brandt's case, he never threw hard to begin with. So it was certainly not the kind of situation that he had to be confronted with in the last year or so. He has always been an off-speed pitcher, changing speeds. At times was too much of a nibbler in Cincinnati. He finally had to learn. And I think he did after he went to Kansas City, because his best years were with that club. Ball 1 to Duncan.
The one thing about Charlie, like so many veteran pitchers, when they're wild down. Like Charlie, if he's wild, he's not going to be throwing high heat out of the plate when you get the bat on.
Well, the Reds hoping for a 2-out hit from this guy who has struggled big time, batting .077. 1 ball, 1 strike. Larkin at second, Braggs at first, 2 out. The Reds continue to hit in inning number 1.
Well, Mr. Duncan certainly had success against left-handers last year, didn't he? What, 417?
Yeah. So far, he's not had success against left-handers or right-handers. And Ronnie Gant will take care of that in center field, and the inning is over. So the Reds unable to take advantage of first-inning control problem.
Gant, the right fielder in the cleanup spot, Cincinnati's Dave Justice. First baseman Sid Breen will hit 5th. Third baseman Terry Pendleton will follow him. In the 7th spot, catching will be Greg Olson. The shortstop Rafael Belliard will hit 8th. The pitcher Charlie Riva is in the 9th spot.
Jose Rijo.
I'm going to tell you what, this young man has pitched awfully well to have no decisions. He's been out there, done an excellent, job of getting people out. They haven't done much in the way of scoring runs for him. He zip with a 3.65, and this is his 3rd start, but he has been outstanding throwing the baseball.
That he has. In his first start, he had 1 bad inning against Houston in a game that the Reds lost, won rather, 6-5. He gave up 4 hits and 4 runs in the 4th inning, and that's how many hits and runs he allowed in the 6 innings in which he was on the mound. And then against San Diego, 6 1/3 innings of 6-hit, 2-run baseball, only 1 of those runs earned. And what was the only loss so far on this road trip at 11 Monday at San Diego, 3-2.
Kind of anxious to see how he pitches to Mr. Sanders. Last night, Browning played old-fashioned hardball and just blew him down 3 times.
Yeah, finally hit for him with Otis Nixon batting off Browning in the 9th inning, and Tom flied him out. Sanders batting .222, homered here on Friday night, has driven in 3 runs. Rijo behind 2-0. And as they have been planning throughout this series, they are up on the corners. Benzinger at first and Sabo at third. Rijo needs a strike. And here's a rocket. And that ball will go to the wall. Watch this young man air it out. 3-base hit.
And it didn't take him long to get to it.
He jumped all over that 2-0 pitch and hit a rocket and gets 3 out of it.
Yep. Here we'll take another look at it. Watch this. Look where the ball is. Right in a good hitting zone, boy. Right chest high. As you mentioned, that's what happens. You fall behind. 2 balls, no strikes. You got to come in there with a pitch. Boy, he put it to work.
So Atlanta puts instantaneous pressure on Jose Rijo as you watch Mr. Sanders run the bases. Here's Treadway, who delivered a 9th inning pinch single last night off of Rob Dibble. Throw to third, but not in time. 3-0-4 batter, Treadway. He's driven in 4, has homered once. And has hit well in the season series. It so far has encompassed 4 games. He's had 5 hits and 10 times up. Ball gets away from Oliver. Sanders won't chance it.
There's a situation at third base. If he kept coming on that ball, as soon as the ball was thrown, he started back. I don't know if there'd been a play on him or not, but he was going back when the ball was still on the ground.
One ball and 1 strike on Jeff Treadway.
This young fellow's a tough at bat, Marty.
Very tough.
Keeps the ball in play.
Excellent number 2 hitter in the Braves lineup. And Rijo missing, ball 2. And at least to the first 2 batters, Jose pitching from behind here. 2 balls and 1 strike. Atlanta, of course, has been struggling big time with their offense. They have wasted some awfully good pitching. And they have had many of the same problems from an offensive standpoint that the Reds have experienced. Treadway chasing a bad ball.
That young man that pitched for them last night pitched well enough to be on some nights a winning pitcher. He pitched pretty good.
Yeah, you count yourself lucky when you come out and win a ball game like that, because John Smoltz, if he has that kind of stuff and can produce those kind of numbers in most of his starts this year, he's going to win an awful lot of ball games. 2-2 it stays. There's last night's losing pitcher.
Well, he's got a good arm, I'll tell you that, partner.
Braves will be heading west after the game today. They're heading to L.A. and Smoltz will probably get a start against the Dodgers.
I'm going to tell you what, them Padres had some success with his Dodgers, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. 2-2 the count on Treadway. Yeah, young reserve infielder Paul Ferries had the big blow last night, a 3-base hit. They came back. They were down 2 or 3 to nothing. And San Diego scored 4 times late to win that game 5-3. Now Rijo throwing strikes and Treadway wasting him with foul ball.
Yes, sir. He's a tough at bat worker. As he gets a bat on the ball, he just tries to put it in play.
Ronnie Gann will follow. Deion Sanders has opened the Atlanta first with a triple to center field. And that is hit well. Sanders will score. Treadway does the job. And Atlanta takes a 1-0 lead.
And the fans applauded for the run. They haven't seen many of those this year.
Now Sanders at third base. He was only the 5th runner that Atlanta had in scoring position in this entire series. And they get him home here in the first.
I can see why the applause was there.
Yes, indeed. Here's Ronnie Gann, who homered on Friday night. one of 3 solo home runs that Jack Armstrong gave up. But other than that, he pitched a super game. And you know what Browning did last night for 8 1/3 before turning it over to Rob Dibble. I understand that was a rather unpopular decision back in Cincinnati among the fans. Lou Pinella's decision to lift Browning 2 outs shy of a complete game. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I was fumbling for words up here trying to figure out what was taking place. Did you get an answer to that?
Yeah, but I didn't like any of them.
Oh, okay. But you did get an answer.
Oh, well, I knew I'd get an answer. Said he wanted to give Dibble some work. Understandable.
I did use that expression.
He said he felt like Browning was getting a little tired. Saw no evidence of that at all. We discussed it.
Very well.
He won.
He's got a pencil in his hand.
Yes, he does. 1 in, 1 out. Bases empty. And that's all for Gant. The good off-speed pitch. And he's gone the 2nd out of the inning. This copyrighted telecast is presented courtesy of Multimedia Entertainment Incorporated by the authority of the Cincinnati Reds and is intended solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, transmission, and/or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds is prohibited. David Justice batting .222. He's homered once. A ball.
And he almost went out of here last night.
I think we expressed the shock that the ball didn't go out. Everybody we talked to felt the same way. They had it chalked up. 1-1. One ball, 1 strike, 2 out. Naturally, there are those who, while applauding the season that David Justice had last year, are still withholding judgment on this young man's long-term career achievements, potentially speaking. There's ball 3. And a lot of young men in this game who have opened with a bang.
Well, 2 things that he does awfully well, Marty. Number 1, we talked about last night, hanging in there tough against left-handers. He's got great patience at the plate, and he knows the strike zone.
3-1 pitch. You also have to factor in the confidence factor. This young man, despite a slow start, there's no question in his mind he's going to hit. And he will drive in runs if they get people on in front of him. It's just a matter of time. He's on with a walk.
You figure, too, he's replacing a legend in this town.
Yep, and interestingly enough, that's the thing that really got him going. After Murphy was traded to Atlanta, they took Justice off of first base, where he had been playing simply to get him in the lineup because Murphy was going to play right field. David never felt comfortable at first, and once Murphy had been dealt to the Phillies, enabling Justice to go to right field, things seemed to start to click for him.
Well, you can imagine how tough it is, getting to the big leagues at your own position, but to come up here and play a foreign.
Yeah, and we're going to see a young man tomorrow night whom we've already seen in Jeff Bagwell, the first baseman at Houston, who is going through basically the same thing. He was a 3rd baseman in the Boston organization, and now because of his bat, they've moved him to first, and he's done a very good job early. Offensively, hit a couple of home runs down here last week. Sid Bream struggling also, batting .207, 2 homers, both off Cincinnati's Jack Armstrong. 1 here, 1 there. He's driven in 6.
Didn't Sid get Rio in the championship series last year in Cincy? With Rio pitching tonight, he jerked that ball
Matter of
out?
fact, he did.
Oh, is he pull something?
Well, he hit that bag very hard coming back on Rio's quick throw to Todd Benzinger, and now walking it off, but apparently okay. There's the influence of Eric Davis. Boy, you see more and more players wearing those high tops. Looked like the entire Boston Red Sox team wore them when the Reds faced them in spring training. Let's take a look at that play at first again. Ooh, yeah, that'll get it done.
Yeah, that'll put a hurt on you.
Right knee on right knee.
Ooh.
Bone on bone. That'll get your attention. Didn't seem to faze Benzinger at all. There goes Justice. Duncan to first in time to end the inning. But Atlanta scores 1 run on 1 hit They leave one. And at the end of one, the Braves won, the Reds nothing.
Charlie, don't make too many mistakes up. You don't throw a ball much above your waist there.
Belliard with a good hop coming off the infield grass, and Benzinger's gone. One away in the inning, and Paul O'Neill will hit. Again, in case you missed the player move that the Reds announced this morning, Tim Layata going to Nashville. He was the 11th man on this staff, and it appeared in only one game, and that was one inning. It was last Sunday against Atlanta when he gave up 5 runs, and he will now go to Nashville and get regular work. And the Reds call up outfielder Chris Jones, a young man who was very impressive with that bat in spring training.
Well, he showed great speed and great power down there. I mean, he's a good-looking kid.
And a big man. I think Reds fans are going to be awfully surprised at how fast he is, given the amount of weight he carries. He can motor. 1 ball, 1 strike. There's a young man right there next to Luis Quinones. Well put together, can swing the bat. Been around the Reds organization for a number of years and finally getting an opportunity. There's strike 2 call.
So he gets that curve ball over. He just paints it black for them lefty.
Paul O'Neill batting 185. Homered in San Diego earlier on this road trip for the only run batted in he's had. 2-2. Reds were unable to capitalize on control problems by Lee Brandt in the first. He walked 2, and he stranded 2. And he's 3-2 on O'Neill.
Paulie's eyeballing him.
Joe Oliver will be up next. The payoff. Ronnie Gant gets a put out. 2 away. Well, the news out of Chicago today, the Cubs have placed Danny Jackson on the 15-day disabled list with a strained groin. And physical problems continue to follow. The left-hander last year on the DL 3 different times, and now early in the first 2 weeks of the year, he goes on the Cubs disabled list with a strained groin that forced him out of the Friday night game in Pittsburgh. Oliver, 118 average, no homers, and a run batted in.
Joe's really had his problems in recent weeks.
1 ball, 1 strike. The way the rotation was set up for the Cubs, Jackson would not have pitched against the Reds in the 4-game series that will commence at Riverfront on Thursday night, but they've obviously got to come up with a starter to replace him. Oliver with a weak pop-up. Played by Sid Bream, and the Reds go down quietly and in order. No runs, no hits, none left in the middle of the second. 1-0 Atlanta.
The Reds take on the Cardinals at 7:35, but that's just half the fun. The first 25,000 pet lovers in attendance will receive a free poster featuring some of your favorite Red players and their pets. That's the Reds and Cards at 7:35 Friday, May the 3rd, and a free poster thanks to Meaty Bone.
Second time around for Jose Rijo against the Atlanta offense. They struck for a run in the first on a 3-base hit by leadoff batter Deion Sanders and a sac fly off the bat of Jet Treadway. Here in the second, Terry Pendleton, followed by Greg Olson, followed by Rafael Belliard.
You know, that's what Danny Jackson said with the Cubs and Pirates coming to town. This road trip's really a big one for these guys.
Well, they're finishing a big weekend series. The Cubs are in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh has let them know real early. You know, despite the fact a lot of folks are picking you guys to win the East, you're going to have to earn it. We're going to be around all year. Duncan to Benzinger, and that's it for Pendleton. Low throw.
You know, we were talking about some of the Red players off the slow starts. How about the start that Bobby Bonds is off to?
For Cincinnati Reds fans, nothing beats a clean, crisp, cold taste of the king of beers, Budweiser. Nothing beats a Bud. Here's Olson out of the gate rather impressively. 5 hits and 10 times up. division races will be very, very exciting. This Western Division race over in the East, the Cubs, of course, the Pirates, the defending Eastern Division champions. A lot of people think the Mets will also be involved in it, and I don't think, given what he's accomplished as skipper of that Montreal club the last few years, you could ever totally discount Buck Rogers' ball club.
They talk about parity in another sport. I'm going to tell you what, with the way baseball is in the National League this year, boy, there's some pretty good ball clubs.
Just missing outside, a ball, 2-1.
I don't think anybody's capable of running off and hiding from anybody.
And it may not be that way in any division. You know, Oakland got off to a great start. Base hit, another one for Olson. He is now 6-for-11.
He's going to tear.
You know it's a new year when you have the problem that Dennis Eckersley had last night.
You don't read about that much.
You've got that right. He gave up a 2-run home run to tie it, and then a base hit to win it for Seattle. Talk about radical turnarounds. The Mariners lost 6 in a row, and now I think they've won 5 straight.
And the White Sox got a pretty good ball club.
Yes, sir. Although the Tigers have just gone into the new Comiskey Park and knocked them off 2 in a row. Foul ball, and Belliard down a strike.
The Sox haven't scored many runs there yet.
And there again, there's a club that I don't think Jeff Torborg is overly concerned about his team's ability to score runs. They went out, of course, and traded for Tim Raines, and folks around the National League know exactly what kind of player he is and what he can do for a relatively young ball club like the White Sox had. He's going to be a real factor. Rock Raines will in the American League this season. 0-2 on Belliard. But good young ball players. That specimen the White Sox have at first base. Frank Thomas.
There's a lot of him.
Mercy.
Yes, sir.
Former football player at Auburn. Played what, with Bo Jackson for a year or so?
#1 draft, George.
Yes, sir. And did not take him long to get to the big leagues at all. Runner at first, 1 out. Ooh. Rio not missing by much, and Belliard showing some courage laying off of that ball.
I don't know how you take that pitch with 2 strikes. I'll tell you that. Good eye, they say.
Batting .217. His 3 runs batted in came in 1 game last Sunday in Cincinnati when the Braves won it 12-1.
You know, can you imagine how fast you've got to make up your mind you're up there hitting? You got a guy like Rhee whose slider has been clocked 91, 92 mile an hour. That ball's over that plate .14 of a second. You're going to stand there and take a ball that close.
Can I tell you something?
Yes, sir.
I can't relate to that.
Well,
you can't.
I didn't relate very well because that's amazing.
You can relate to that. I can't. My reflexes you can't tune those bad boys up good enough. Pretty good reflexes displayed right there by our good buddy Pat Corrales. They almost picked him off, Belliard did.
Big fellow still got good reflexes.
Nice man.
Yes, sir. One of the better guys around. And a good baseball man.
Belliard looks to another good baseball man, their third base coach, Jimmy Williams, a former Toronto Blue Jays manager. Hey, Bobby Cox has put together a pretty good coaching staff here in Atlanta. That's all for Belliard. He finally got him to go after a bad ball away, and they almost knock off Olson at first.
You see that when you're hitting, Marty, that's a strange part. He took a ball up there on that 2-strike pitch. It was so close, it was almost, you know, with a needle.
And then chases one 8 inches off the plate.
Strange. That's got to be one of those deals where you make up your mind before he releases the ball. I'm just going to hack.
Yep. Now, you don't take any undue liberties against this guy. Despite the time he spent in the American League where he never got a chance to hit, he was a good hitting pitcher, and he has remained one in coming back into the National League last year.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, this week we've seen some pitchers hang on some ropes, man.
I hope to shout we have.
Yes, sir. Mr. Browning, Mr. Hammond.
Braves in front 1-0. We're in the 2nd inning. They've got the lights on here at the stadium, and with good reason, rather dark. And I would imagine the club traveling secretary, Joel Pieper, on pins and needles today.
Close connection.
I'm telling you, club's got a 6:40 or 6:45 flight out of here. Delta flight nonstop to Houston. Talking about one's margin of error, not all that great. Rain today could be disastrous as far as that flight is concerned. Strike 3 call. That's all for Lee Brandt, and that's all for Atlanta. Third punch out for Rijo, but at the end of 2 innings of play, Atlanta has the early.
TV Reds magnetic schedule. Compliments of Klosterman Baking Company. Saturday, April the 27th is Klosterman Magnetic Schedule Day when the Reds take on the Cubs at 1:15. It's a free Reds magnetic schedule and great red action. Saturday, April the 27th at 1:15.
Reds down a run. They bat for the 3rd time off Lee Brandt and the Atlanta Braves, who are trying to avoid a 3-game series sweep. It is Jose Rijo beginning inning number 3. Takes a strike. Well, he's been up 4 times. He's had a couple of hits, and yep. If you saw it earlier, you know that the temperature is dropping a bit here in Atlanta. Up the middle, and another base hit for Rijo. He's now 3 for 5.
Swinging bat.
Swing that bat, you're dangerous, as the old left-hander has often said.
He would know. He's a pretty good rapper.
12 lifetime home runs, I think he hit.
Saw the man pinch hit. He could do it, buddy. He didn't get cheated either.
Yes,
sir. He left the ground, boy. He'd spin.
Oh, yeah, but back in those days, those pitchers didn't like where to go up there spinning on them.
Yeah, but I tell you what, Joe had the ball in his hand when he went back down.
Yeah. Well, a leadoff base hit as the Reds come up with their first knock of the afternoon, and now a momentary time out has been called to enable Rijo to get the jacket on down at first. Sabo led the game off and got a walk, 1 of 2 allowed by Lee Brandt in inning number 1.
I don't imagine our next trip back in here in July that he will need that jacket, do you suppose?
Nah. Not any chance at all. July 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Right.
It'll be, as they say down here, right mellow.
Yes, sir. Boy, he was really fooled.
Yep.
Tell you what, everything he throws is down, down, down. If you swing at that one, he'll go a little bit lower than that pitch.
Well, he'll find out how far down you will go.
It's true.
Before laying off of it. A ball, a strike.
Then he catches you out to looking for that ball down in a way that he comes in with your fist with that pitch right there. He's a real crafty left-hander, as they say.
Chris checking it out with Sammy Perlazzo, the Reds' third base coach. One ball, 2 strikes.
Then the hitters complain you've got a guy that's known for his control. The plate widens.
Yeah. Just outside the bag at third. Tomorrow night we'll emanate from the Astrodome in Houston. Game 1 will feature Norm Charlton and Xavier Hernandez. We'll have tomorrow night's game for you on the Reds Television Network, and as well as Tuesday night's encounter that will pit Chris Hammond against Jimmy Jones. Wrapping it up Wednesday night, Jack Armstrong will go against Mark Portugal. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Did I understand that the president of the National League
Yes.
is going to be a guest tomorrow night?
I had a talk with Norm Charlton in the Reds clubhouse last night about the little meeting he was a part of in San Diego this past week when National League President Bill White flew to San Diego for the express purpose of talking to Rob Dibble and Norm Charlton. Full count, and Charlton, rather mystified, he said, I don't understand what I've done since the season started to warrant being in on that meeting, other than the fact that he said, I got the impression that Bill White perceives Rob and I to be headhunters. And apparently Bill is going to be in Houston for that series. It starts tomorrow night to keep an eye on things. And Sabo gets a walk. And I would imagine Charlie Leibrandt is beside himself right now because he was ahead on the count, 1-2, and could not throw another strike.
This is certainly not consistent with his past history.
So the mere fact that Rob Dibble and Eric Yelding got into it in Cincinnati, and the fact that the Reds go into Houston tomorrow night, and further that the league president will be on hand for all 3 games, makes for a rather interesting 3 days of baseball.
Well, you know, thinking back to last year, Marty, there was another incident in our ballpark with the gentleman that's pitching tomorrow night for them.
Absolutely. They overlooked that. You know, Xavier Hernandez drilled 3 Reds players last year in 1 game. Now they look for the bunt from Billy Hatcher, and why not? The Reds trail 1-0 with 2 men on and nobody out. Rijo at second, Sabo at first, and a bluff throw by Chaz. Gordy, how cold does it have to get for you to put a jacket on?
Well, it depends on how bad the wind's blowing.
That's a determining factor?
Yeah, the wind. Yeah.
This,
yes, sir. He might be bunting.
Yes. Good one, too.
And it is a good one.
Excellent bunt. Pendleton makes a play in time to Treadway.
That was a beauty.
That baby rolls straight as an arrow. No question as to whether or not it might go foul, and Hatcher gets a job done with Rijo ending up at third and Sabo at second.
And let's take another look at it. Watch this ball right down the line, and it stays right on the infield grass. Look at that. It doesn't curve. It's right there. Now, that play creates a situation for the manager of the Atlanta Braves. You get first base open. You got 1 out. A hitter of his caliber. Do you want to load him up?
I don't think so. I did this early in the ball game, and with the lead, despite the fact that Larkin has been swinging the bat much better in the 2 days here in Atlanta. Lee Brand will pitch to him. That's going to tie it up. And now they've got Sabo hung up. The game is tied at 1-1. Larkin's ground ball to shortstop gets a job done, but the Braves immediately go for the out of Chris Sabo, and they get it.
Well, I'll tell you, well, there's a situation, in all honesty, that Mr. Sabo didn't have to run. There was no, you know, he didn't have to go.
It goes 6 to 5 to 4. And I think you could call that a bit of vapor lock, which is certainly not a stranger to Chris Sabo. Every now and then he'll have one of those periods where things lock up on him. That ball was right out in front of him, and no reason in the world why he should be running, but he was. So 2 down with Larkin at first. Bragg's down a strike. Give Larkin his 6th run batted in. Bragg's had a walk in the first.
In all honesty, where this ball club's concerned, no matter who's hitting fourth, we just got to get some RBI production at that 4th spot.
1-1.
I'm telling you what, when you put the kind of pressure on a pitching staff, where they got to go to and win 1-0, 2-1, 3-2 every day, boy, that makes a long summer.
Yep. But on the other side of the coin, you have to feel comfortable with the fact that this club right now is 6-4. And having won 4 straight games, and really they've not gotten going offensively.
No, you're correct there. You betcha. Fortunately, we used that word, you know, last night. You know, as far as being on the money, we're doing when they have to do it.
And the defense, of course, 6 errors in 2 games, 3 last Sunday, 3 Monday night in San Diego. But since that time, the defense has settled down. This club's going to be a good defensive ball club, as it was last year. Ball 2, 2-1. I'll tell you one thing. He's throwing an awful lot of pitches in the first 3 innings. And you got the impression last night that Bobby Cox really had no desire to go to his bullpen until he absolutely had to. He finally went to it late in the game. But in the 6th inning, he allowed Smoltz to bat for himself with the club trailing 2-0. Slowly hit. The inning is over. But the Reds tie it up. 1 run on 1 hit with 1 left. In the middle of the 3rd, the Reds and the Braves are even at 1 apiece.
A company can learn a
Atlanta Braves. Deion Sanders, who touched up Mr. Rijo for a leadoff 3-base hit in the 1st inning and came in to score the Braves run, is back again. Duncan better hurry up. Just got him.
Boy, I'm going to tell you what.
When he elected to lay back on the ball rather than charge, I'm thinking to myself, you got no shot.
That was not a good decision.
No.
Now watch this play, because he can run just like the wind. Now he laid back instead of charging that ball, and he made it closer than it had to be. Woo.
Very, very fortunate to get that out. Here's Treadway.
He can fly.
1 run, 1 hit for Cincinnati. 1 run, 2 hits for Atlanta. Treadway with a sac fly in the first inning. A ball, a strike. Taco Bell now with 3 great menus for just 59, 79, or 99 cents. Run for the border. Ball 2. You know, we talked about our good friend Jesse Jackson last night and the change of clothes to trick that lady about getting another round of steaks for FREE.
Remember that story?
He's always been a guy to gravitate to some of the big names in the industry. Hatcher has it for the second out. Johnny Bench, Eric Davis. And now proudly tells people that he's tight with Dominique. Now, that's all you have to say here in Atlanta. Dominique. You know, it's like Reggie.
Impresses me.
Dominique. Tell you what.
Was he seen in the social circles last night?
Very tight with a man. Impresses me now. I mean, I'm proud to tell people I know Jesse Jackson.
Well, I'm going to be on a flight with him tonight. I'm going to anxious to see if he's got on a jersey or maybe a cap or something of theirs.
I'll tell you, Mike, next thing I know, I'll watch the Hawks on TV. He'll be sitting on the bench. 1 ball, 1 strike on Gant. Will enjoy a 1-2-3 inning as Hatcher calls. Stay with us. Steve Lamar will be coming over to sit along.
Coleman. Mariano Duncan is leading off in the 4th inning against the former Red Charlie Lebrand. And the count now goes to a ball and a strike on Mariano.
Marty and I were sitting here discussing unusually today. Charlie, you know, throwing a lot of balls. You know, he's not known for having people on base with base on ball.
He's walked 3 already. That is very unlike Mr. Lebrand. That's Rafael Belliard. And that's the first out of the inning. Nice pick by Bream at first base. So Duncan has bounced out, and there's 1 away in the 4th. And now it will be Todd Benzinger. But first we check the JTM National League scoreboard this afternoon. Cubbies have won 6 of their last 8, but dropped 2 in a row. Belliard at shortstop. He's handled the first 2 chances quickly. Lebrand sets aside the first 2 hitters in the 4th.
Well, he's made it look easy this inning.
And we'll check the American League scores in the bottom half of this inning. We have a 1-1 game in the 4th as the Reds shoot for their 5th consecutive victory. This has been a season of brief streaks for the Reds. They won their first 2 ball games, lost their next 4. Now they've won their last 4. And they go for a 5-game winning streak heading into Houston for the first game of the series tomorrow night.
And these 4 victories, how about the pitching they've received?
It has been outstanding. On this road trip, the staff ERA 1.17. Reds have allowed no more than 3 runs in any game on the trip. There's a drive into the alley in right center field. Well hit by O'Neill. And up against the wall in a couple of hops. Paul has extra bases as Dave Justice retrieves the ball, and a double with 2 outs by O'Neill.
Paul hit that ball right on the money.
That's his 4th double of the year, puts him right up among the league leaders. Paul has 6 hits now on the year. 5 of them have gone for extra bases, 4 doubles and a homer.
Too bad. This young man here is sure due.
Joe Oliver. 2 out of 18 in the early going, and he's really had trouble making contact. He has fanned 8 of his 18 trips to the plate.
I don't imagine he's going to see a whole lot to hit there with first base being open to the pitcher coming up behind him. I don't imagine he's going to get too many balls to hit here.
Yeah, I would think they'd pitch around him. There's a foul at the plate by Oliver. Well, it was 1 year ago today that the Reds won their 9th consecutive ball game and ran their record for 1990 to 9-0.
That was a pretty fair country start.
Yeah. The best one in club history on the way to the World Championship.
Yeah, we were talking prior to your coming over here this year about how much the parity in the league is going to be. You know, as far as the difference of everybody's really made some changes. This ball club here is certainly a lot better, and how much tougher it's going to be for whoever wins.
Well, most of the observers are predicting a real good pennant race in the National League West throughout the year, down to the final week or so. Belliard at shortstop takes it on a hop. His throw is in time, and the inning's over. He handled all 3 chances. The Reds had a hit, the 2-out double by O'Neill, as he and Rob Dibble teamed up on the 4-hit shutout. Today, a 1-1 ball game in the bottom of the 4th. David Justice will lead off for Atlanta, followed by Sid Bream and Terry Pendleton. So 3 toughies who bat from the left side against Jose Rio here in inning number 4. Both clubs traveling after the game today. The Reds going on to Houston to wind up the road trip. The Braves head all the way out to Los Angeles to begin a 9-game trip. All right, Justice takes a strike to start the home half of the 4th inning.
Well, we've mentioned in the other 2 telecasts that this young man certainly has a tremendous following in our area. As you know, he's a graduate of Covington Latin High School. Attended Thomas More College.
Rookie of the year last year. And Justice takes one away. He really did not begin to hit until after the Braves traded Dale Murphy to the Philadelphia Phillies last year. Justice had been playing a lot of first base, but when the trade was made, he went to right field, and he really began to light things up with the bat. Swing and a miss, 1-2.
I'm sure the Reds are hoping that he doesn't find his stroke till they leave town too, because he's hitting what 222, and he is certainly capable of a lot better than that. But, you know, Steve, you look around the league, there's a lot of guys that fall in that category of great hitters that are basically, you know, struggling right now.
That's right. Hey, look at the team batting averages in the league. And Justice takes called strike 3. He's out of there. 4th strikeout for Rio. We're about to say the team batting averages are down this year in the early going. Now a chance to check the JTM American League scoreboard. We'll have that for you in just a moment. Not much underway anyway to this point in the American League. All right, here's Sid Bream. And he tops one foul over toward the Braves dugout.
I see your big buddy down at first base has got on gloves. Now, it's not that cold, is it?
Yeah, what's happening with Pat Corrales out there, the former Reds catcher?
Geez, I never thought that guy'd be a whip standing there with gloves on.
Well, Pat's taken up golf recently.
Look at that play.
What a play by Benzinger. Over to Rio, and out is Bream. Beauty by Todd Benzinger.
That ball spun him around.
So Benzinger handles that hot ground ball off the bat of Bream.
Boy, watch this on the replay. Spins him. Oh, man. That's one of those thank you shots right there. He really hit that ball right on the butt.
That reminded me of Gordy Coleman.
No, no, I'd have olayed that one, baby. There she goes.
I didn't see it.
Just sort of like a matador.
Terry Pendleton batting with 2 out and nobody on. Pendleton in the series has been up 7 times with only 1 base hit. Rio gets a called strike to him. It's 1-1.
It's like Rio has found his rhythm out there. He's throwing a lot more strikes he did at first inning.
And he's retired the last 7 hitters. Fastball away, 2-1. Pendleton is up there hacking. He's appeared at the plate 22 times here early in the 1991 season. He has yet to draw a base on balls. Swing and a fly ball down the left field line. Bragg's coming over. The ball drops just foul out in the Reds bullpen. So it's a 2-2 count to the Braves third baseman Terry Pendleton. Braves scored in the first on a triple by Sanders and Treadway's sacrifice fly. The Reds came back with a run in the third. The RBI went to Barry Larkin. This one down low, and it's 3-2. 3-2 to Pendleton. Trying to get something going for the Braves with 2 men out and nobody on. Norm Charlton goes to the mound tomorrow night for the Reds at the Dome in Houston against Xavier Hernandez. 3-2 delivery. And Pendleton holding on the swing. It's out of the strike zone, and Rio has walked his second man of the ball game.
And this young man that's coming to the plate has really been hanging out some rope.
Now we look at the JTM American League scoreboard. Toronto off to a good start at County Stadium in Milwaukee. Twins have lost 7 in a row now, and the Oakland A's have dropped 3 in a row, while the Mariners have won 5 straight. Pendleton aboard on a walk, 2 men out. Greg Olson batting. He had a line drive single to the opposite field. His first time at bat today. He's really gotten off to a terrific start for the Braves. 1 strike to Olson.
Boy, his hit flew on that slider, I'll tell you that. He went out to get it, and it just wasn't there. He really jerked on that ball.
Braves have been getting terrific production from their catchers offensively in their first 9 games, haven't they?
And we mentioned earlier, boy, the defense last night, 3 out of 4 thrown out of going to stealing.
Yep. And he threw out another man trying to advance. Back is Terry Pendleton.
I tell you, Rio really fires that ball across the pickoff move. He really gets it over there.
One strike to count to Olson, the Braves catcher. One and 1. Say a special Reds Network salute to Nationwide Insurance agent Frank N. Robinette, winner of the 1990 President's Conference Award. For all your insurance needs in Kentucky, call Frank N. Robinette. Pendleton, the runner, is back. Greg Olson, the Braves catcher, stepping out now to have a look at Jimmy Williams, the coach at third, as Terry Pendleton moves away from the bag at first with 2 out.
There he goes.
There he goes. Strike is called, and the throw down by Oliver on a hop and not in time.
Missed the tag. The ball beat him. The ball beat him, I believe, but the tag wasn't there. Here we watch it. He gets the ball on a hop, but the ball gets there before the runner. Ball is there. He just missed the tag.
Larkin not able to get that ball down on Pendleton, who has his first steal of the year. And the 11th for the Braves in 10 games. There's a line drive to left field and a base hit. Pendleton around third. Here he comes. He'll score, and the Braves lead it 2-1.
Boy, is he hot.
Greg Olson is 2 for 2 today off Rio, and 7 for 12 this year. And that stolen base plays a big role.
Boy, it sure did.
It's the first RBI of the season for Greg Olson.
Here's that swing again. Fastball. Uh-oh. Bad spot. That young man has just got a hot bat.
So Atlanta back in front 2-1. And here's the shortstop, Rafael Belliard. That one is at third baseman Chris Sable. And from the grass, he throws him out to retire the side. A run on 1 hit and 1 left. After 4, 2-1 Atlanta. Braves have a 1-run lead over the Reds. And a very hot hitter, Mr. Jose Rio, will lead it off for the Reds. 3 hits and 5 times at bat this year.
Yes, sir.
He scored after that single in the 3rd inning. Well, Rio's been able to help himself here in the early part of the season. There's a foul back to the screen. Rio with 3 hits, and he's come around to score 3 runs in his first 3 starts of the year. So he has helped himself. 1 strike pitch. Now it's 1-1. Chris Sable will follow, then Billy Hatcher.
Mr. Templeton must have heard about his bunting ability. Look where he plays. He put the bag.
Shortstop Rafael Belliard throws out Rio. One down. Belliard has handled the last 4 chances for the Braves. So 1 out in the 5th inning, and now Chris Sabo has been up twice and walked each time. Boy, he's been on base a lot since Lou Piniella moved him up to the leadoff spot in the final game of that series in San Diego Wednesday night.
That was one of the things a couple years ago when Chris first broke in with the Reds. That, you know, they said he didn't have the patience to be a leadoff hitter, but he has certainly developed that.
Sabo taking a lot of time to allow Jose Rio to get back to the dugout and get a little breather. And he takes the strike.
It's one of the few times that Charlie's been ahead of Chris.
Lee Brandt uncharacteristically has walked 3 batters today. Twice it's been Sabo. There's strike 2 call. 0-2. Lee Brandt had walked only 1 batter this season in 12 innings prior to today. Outside. The Reds came into play today in 2nd place in the Western Division. 1 game behind the San Diego Padres. The Padres came from behind last night to beat the Dodgers at Jack Murphy Stadium. 1-2. That's fouled past Sam Perlazo, the coach at 3rd for Cincinnati. Reds and the Braves even up at 2-2 in the season series this year, each club winning 2. There's a pop-up on the infield. Breen coming down from first and calling and making the catch for the 2nd out in the 5th inning. Two up, 2 down in the 5th against Lee Brandt. And Billy Hatcher will bat. His sacrifice helped lead to a run in that 3rd inning.
Well, that was some kind of bunt, too. What a punter.
Yeah, it was beautiful. There is Pendleton at 3rd at the edge of the grass. And down go the Reds. 1, 2, 3. And Lee Brandt takes a strike. This is Charlie's 2nd year with the Atlanta Braves. Of course, he broke in with the Cincinnati Reds back in 1979. And he pops one up. There's Barry Larkin. And there is 1 man out.
Sunday, April 28th is Kenner starting lineup day when the Reds beat the Cubs at 2:15. The first 12,500 fans 14 years and under will receive a free Kenner starting lineup figure. Compliments of Kenner. It's a great way to add to your starting lineup collection or even start one. That's Kenner starting lineup day. The Reds versus the Cubs Sunday, April 2:15.
Well, we have seen the speed of Deion Sanders today. Deion hit one in the gap in right center, leading on the bottom of the 1st inning for a triple. Boy, can he move.
And that ball never reached the fence on a roll, and he was on 3rd.
Then he hit a high chop to Mariano Duncan at 2nd base in the 3rd inning. Rather a routine play. He nearly beat it out.
Yeah, Mario laid back on that ball. I'm going to tell you what, you can't lay back on too many he hits.
Nope. There's a liner to right. Well hit, but O'Neill will pull it in right at the edge of the track. So 2 gone in the 5th inning. Remember, Reds fans, Bank One Cincinnati, the bank that will do whatever it takes within reason. 2 up, 2 down. And the Braves, who are leading 2-1, will send Jeff Treadway. Treadway with a sac fly for his 5th RBI in the 1st inning. And then fly to fairly deep center field in the 3rd. Lifetime 4 hits and 12 at bats for Treadway against Rio. And he bounces one to first. Backhanded by Benzinger. He'll take it himself. A quick 1-2-3 bottom of the 5th for Rio. So 5 full innings in the book in Atlanta. Marty Brennaman coming back for the 6th. 2-1 Atlanta.
Shine a light on you, shine a light on me.
The 6th inning, the Reds find themselves trailing 2-1. Veteran Charlie Lee Brandt has done a number on them. So let's get into this thing, Marty.
I'll tell you, nobody ever said it was going to be easy, but boy, you got to wonder when now at this stage this offense is going to start to come to life and perform consistently as it did for the majority of the 1990 season. Certainly Charlie Lebrand is a very, very effective pitcher, but the Reds' problems continue big time. Larkin up for the third time today, hit into a force play in the first and reached on a fielder's choice in the third to pick up a run batted in.
Well, you figure Friday night they had 9 hits, and last night they were in double figures. You figured they were on their way, but today it's been a little slow.
Well, I think getting hits is one thing, but making those hits translate into runs is something else again. I mean, last night, as you say, the Reds had 11 hits. They scored only 3 runs off those 11 hits. The night before, they had 8 hits and 8 runs, but most of the runs, except for one, as a matter of fact, came on hit batsmen, wild pitches, errors. Larkin was the only guy to drive in a run. 1-2 on Berry, to be followed by Glenn Braggs and Mariano Duncan here in the 6th. That's a strikeout, or is it? Nope, a foul ball.
Foul ball.
Good pickup by Olson. He almost pulled it off that time.
What?
And the next strikeout that Lebrand gets will be his first.
He don't overpower you. He just gets you to make out.
Although in the first 12 innings this season he punched out 10, but yet to get one today. 2-2.
Well, I would tell you one thing. He gets 2 strikes or he plays games with that ball down.
Now Charlie Lebrand's the best example in the world why, in my estimation, there has been and probably always will be too much emphasis placed on how hard a guy throws. I had some pretty interesting discussions with some outstanding baseball people. And of course, the first thing you ask about a pitcher is how hard does he throw? There's ball 4.
Well, as you know, if you come to a tryout camp, depending on what organization you go there for, the cutoff mark is normally around 85 mile an hour or better. And
right.
If you can't throw the ball up there, they won't even discuss it with.
But you know, yesterday I was talking with Lou Piniella, and Lou is a firm believer in a pitcher being able to make the jump from Class A to the major leagues. Now, he said, I'm not saying every pitcher is capable of doing it, but he said, I don't believe in a player in a minor league system having to make a stop at every step along the way. That is rookie league, Class A, Double A, Triple A, and then to the big leagues. Braggs a strike. He said, you know, if a guy can throw strikes,
that was the
he
criteria.
can make, that's right, he can make that jump, and that's very true.
There's a guy pitching for the New York Mets did that.
Yeah. When he came to stay too, Jack.
And I think there's one with the White Sox, isn't it? Young left-hander, Radinsky.
Oh, yeah, Scott Radinsky made the club last spring, not this spring, but last spring, and came out of nowhere. The Dodgers have always been an organization that did not feel that a pitcher had to work in every classification. I can remember, I think Alejandro Pena made the jump all the way from Vero Beach or possibly San Antonio to the big leagues when he first came up.
But how many times in spring training, Marty, do you hear the decision when it's made to send a youngster back? He just doesn't have the experience.
Yeah, well, I don't totally agree with that all the time. If a guy's had a great spring and his numbers in the minor leagues reflect the fact that he can throw strikes and there is a spot available, I like to see clubs take a chance. Long run. Bream got it. Boy, I'll tell you one thing. We've seen some weak hacks today from this Cincinnati team. Certainly Lebrand's had a whole lot to do with that. But that was a real feeble swing from Glenn Braggs for out number 1 of the 6th inning.
You know, talking of young pitching, Marty, I can think back in Reds history, 2 pretty good names come to mind real quick that stepped from Class A ball up to the big show. 19 years old, fellow by the name of Don Gellett.
Yes, sir.
And how about a gentleman by the name of Gary Nolan?
That's another one. Of course, Gary developed arm problems, but certainly had nothing to do with him coming up early.
Yeah, he would have pitched every 5 days in the minors when it was down there or up top. You know, you pitch every 5 days.
Absolutely. Hit hard to left field, and that's a base hit for Duncan. Let's see what Larkin will do. He will not chance getting nailed at third by Deion Sanders, so 2 are on with 1 out. Reds with an opportunity here to possibly tie it up, maybe go better than that.
That's a very intelligent move because you take yourself out of an inning. You get thrown into third base with 1 out, you're taking yourself out of the inning. That was very intelligent for him to hold up at second base.
Todd Benzinger has grounded to shortstop twice today.
But he has swung the bat a lot better from the right side.
You know, one regret I've always had is that I was never around to see Gary Nolan throw when he first came up.
I'm going to tell you one
It was
thing.
good old-fashioned hum baby, wasn't it?
I remember swinging at him in spring training. And he got there right quick.
I saw him, of course, after he'd had all the arm problems and came back and was a masterful pitcher. I mean, Gary was a guy who was able to make the transition. And I can remember against the Pirates back in the mid-'70s when all he had to do was throw his glove out there. And they had the lumber company with Stargell and Oliver and all those guys. And Gary wasn't throwing hard enough to break a pane of glass and just wear him out. Strike to Benzinger.
You know, there's all kind of fastballs, but he had one of those balls and he released it about halfway there. It jumped at him. It just got to, you know, some guys, you know, like Gibble, for instance. You watch Dibble, it's all effort.
Right.
You watch a guy like Nolan, all of a sudden he just jump right in there. And
it's that smooth, fluid motion. They talk about that game when he faced the Giants and lost on a home run by McCovey in the 9th and got nazed 4 or 5 times. That's when he was bringing it.
so, and of course, that was back in an era, you know, Marty, when you're talking about there wasn't as many ball clubs. Expansion that hit it.
Right. What, 66, around 65 or 66?
Yeah, and you're talking about, you know, rushing kids at that age, so you know it can be done today.
Yeah. 2 on, 1 out here in the 6th. The Reds need a run to get even. They've got Larkin at second, Duncan at first. 1 out. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Boy, the Reds need a big hit right here.
Well, you know, not to belabor the point, but take the case of the Oakland A's this year. They bring up that kid Dressendorfer, who last June got out of the University of Texas. He's in the big leagues now.
Did I see that they either have 3 or 5?
They've got this kid Slusarski who just came up and pitched 6 or 7 shutout innings a week ago in his first start. Foul ball. He was a guy that they brought up from Tacoma and rushed him into a start when Eric Schau warmed up and was unable to go because of an infection in the index finger on his right hand. And the kid pitched 6 or 7 shutout innings, and I think, as a matter of fact, he's pitching today. And they got the Dressendorfer kid out of the University of Texas, who was the #1 pick. So there's an organization not afraid of running them up there if they think they got a chance to pitch effectively in the big leagues. 1 and 2. 2 on, 1 out. And Treadway breaking into the bag as they try their level best to keep Larkin as close to second as they can. He represents the tie and run with Duncan at first, the go-ahead. 2-1 the score in the top of the 6th. And again, the cat and mouse game continues.
The one good thing about that is that Barry is making him lose his concentration. When he keeps stepping back, like sometimes you make a mistake when the plate pitch to the plate. So hopefully that can take place.
Benzinger has played Pepper with Belliard at short. There they go. Ground ball up the middle. They're going to get a pair out of this. Or will they? The throw to first. And here in the Atlanta 6th inning, Braves keep that 1-run lead. Todd Benzinger grounds into a 6-3 double play. And the Reds' threat goes by the boards. One away. Now David Justice, who has walked and has also struck out. Rijo has fanned 4, has walked 2, and that second walk a couple of innings ago turned out to be a tough one. Stolen base and a base hit by Olson to crack the tie and give the Braves this current 1-run lead.
Boy, you know this young man is just waiting to explode here, don't you?
Yeah, you'd think so. One ball, 1 strike.
Rijo's really running that fastball away from him. He's really trying to keep that ball up his power adder.
You don't want to throw that ball from the middle of the plate in. A Ball and 2 strikes on Mr. Justice.
I guess he's finally seen so many balls away from him today. He's going to take a shot to left field.
Sid Bream will bat next. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Well, this may well be the final inning of work for Rijo. He's due to hit third in the top of the 7th. And the 2-2 pitch. Just missed low with that one. It's been a day of rest for the bullpen up to this point. Three balls, 2 strikes. Got him for the 2nd straight time. Looking in the 4th, swinging here in the 6th.
Got him with a good slider down in the end. Watch this. Yes, sir.
Bream is grounded out twice. Rijo keeping them at 2 in the hope that the Reds can rally in their final 3 at-bats. It's been a day in which each club has collected only 3 hits.
Marty, you look at all 3 of his starts. He's kept them in every ballgame he's been out to.
Foul ball. Well, he has been the kind of pitcher, especially the way he finished the year last season, that you come to expect a good outing every time he goes out there. And he expects that of himself. And he has certainly pitched well today. I don't necessarily agree with the formula or the definition of a quality start. Here's a ground ball to first, played by Benzinger. And that will take care of Bream and the Atlanta Braves as they go quietly in the 6th. We've got 3 innings of action still to come with a break. Young Mr. Jones right after we see what Joe Oliver does. Oliver today has popped up and grounded out to shortstop. There's a look at Jones. Young man out of Utica, New York. Now makes his home in Liverpool.
Pretty good football play.
Yeah. Not hard to understand the way he can fly. Oh, and 2. It would not be surprising if things don't pick up in terms of that tandem behind the plate of Oliver and Reed, that the Reds don't make some sort of move to try and shore up, which has been a rather woeful situation at that catching position. Oliver especially has not hit anything to speak of, and his throws more often than not get to second base on a bounce. 2-2. Ball 3. Nice play deep by Pendleton. And a good pickup by Bream. It looked like he got it cleanly, but Greg Bonet said safe at first, and that'll bring Bobby Cox out of the Atlanta dugout.
Yes, sir. He didn't believe that one. That was an excellent play on both ends, Marty.
Yes, it was. Oliver will be taken down, and Jones will replace him at first base, so he'll pitch run.
Here it is on the replay.
He's out. And that's not even close.
Hey, we'll see her again. Watch this again. We'll let the folks at home make this decision. There it is as the hop.
Not even close. So the Reds got a major league break.
I'm surprised Mr. Cox didn't fuss a little bit more than he did.
I am too. Chris Jones, who had been in the on-deck circle with a bat in his hand, now will discard the bat and take over at first as a runner, and he's got excellent speed. Meeting at the mound just now, breaking up, and Bill Doran will pinch hit for Jose Rijo.
You know, we've mentioned several times in regards, Marty, the move last night the ball club had to make, and it just goes to show you here's two different things he can do with Jones. He hasn't even been on the ball field just now. He was going to pinch hit him. Now he's going to use him in another position.
Well, he carries a tie and run, and he can motor. Billy Doran will pinch hit, batting .500 for the season. That's not right. There's the right numbers, .322 batting average, and will go up there, of course, hitting right-handed against the Atlanta left-hander. And the bullpen for the first time today starts up for the Braves. Left-hander and a right-hander. The right-hander Doug Sisk. Ball one to Doran, and the left-hander appears to be Mike Stanton.
Don't be surprised to see that young man at first base be in motion at any time.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if they run him.
But with Billy's bat control, you could do a lot of things with him.
Belliard going out to get it. Second out.
Now with 2 outs, you almost got to get him moving.
Gordy, I'll tell you what, he has really kept the Reds hitters off balance today, because we have seen some very, very feeble swings.
Yes, sir. He has really kept those guys off balance. He's had guys on front feet since the first inning. And, you know, that's been a success of his career, Marty, is the fact that, you know, he's not going to try to overpay. He's going to make you, you know, beat him with his off-speed stuff.
Well, let's see if he can make a mistake here and have Sabo turn on him and hammer one over that left field fence.
Chris has been very patient with him today.
A strong 6 innings of pitching today by Jose Rijo, and obviously not good enough unless the Reds can manufacture something here with 2 out. He will leave on the losing end, but the Reds still have a couple of more shots at Atlanta pitching.
From distance, Chris Jones reminds you a lot of Ken Griffey.
Yes, he does. That's the truth. A lot of the same mannerisms. Slowly hit. Pendleton gets rid of it in time. The inning is over.
Paid off the other night. Hopefully the results will be again today.
Well, Scotty had a good outing, of course, his second time out this season out of the bullpen, but the first time out after that switch had been made, he came out of the bullpen to relieve Hammond, who worked 6 innings against the Padres. And Scudder shut him down in the final 3 innings as Hammond got the win, and Scudder got the save. So he comes on in a slightly different situation today. The Reds down by a run, and will be facing Pendleton, Olson, and Belliard in the 7th inning for Atlanta. Ball one.
This is a situation where managers just tell you, you bring in a situation like with Scudder and just hold them close. You can't let the game get out of control here with the trouble we have in scoring runs.
That's right. Don't give them any more, and maybe we can muster up a couple of runs in the 8th or the 9th. That's what the manager will say to a guy like Scudder in this situation. 2 balls and no strikes. It was the walk to Pendleton with 2 outs in the 4th inning. And then the stolen base on the poor throw by Oliver that set up the base hit by Olson that sent him out in front. Scudder needs a strike. Pitching line on Jose Rijo, 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs earned with 2 walks and 5 strikeouts. We pause 5 seconds for station identification on the Cincinnati Reds television network. Two balls, 1 strike, bottom of the 7th inning. Scudder working to lead off batter Terry Pendleton. Even count, 2-2.
Unfortunately, Jose finds himself in the same position as Smoltz last night. He pitched awfully well, but the other guy pitched just a wee bit better.
Yep. Rio's next start will be coming up back in Cincinnati next week against, or this coming weekend against the Chicago Cubs. That pitch just a little bit inside. Ball 3. And the Cubs in Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and again on Sunday afternoon. It'll be the Eastern Division for a while after the club finishes in Houston.
They're followed in by the Buccos, too, buddy.
That's right. As a matter of fact, they'll be playing the Cubs 4, off day on Monday the 29th, a week from tomorrow. And then a 2-game series with Pittsburgh, followed by an off day on Thursday the 2nd. And then the Cardinals in for 3. And then the Reds go to Pittsburgh for 3, Chicago for 3, and St. Louis for 3. And then come back home on the 17th of May against San Diego. Straight away. Ooh, Bragg's almost overran that ball.
Yes, sir.
Some blue sky coming out. You know, when I think spring, I think Reds baseball, and I think grilling out with, of course, JTM hamburgers, pork chopettes, if you will, and beef grill steaks. If you don't have that combination in your freezer, you're missing out on one of the real pleasures of spring. Nothing tastes better hot off the grill than JTM burgers, chops, and steaks.
Sunday afternoon, are you kidding?
Go ahead with it.
Yes, sir.
Olson 2 for 2. A run batted in. He's had 2 of the 3 hits off of Rijo. And he has a hit off Scudder. Off the glove of Sabo. Heading towards second. He is out. No, safe. Good throw by Glenn Bragg.
It was a good throw.
Looked like they had him at second base, and he gets a safe call from Spanky Fremming. A double for Greg Olson.
He slid to the outside part of the bag. Here's the pitch. Curveball breaking down. He really rips that ball right inside the bag. Braggs makes a nice recovery, hustles over and makes an excellent throw. Watch this throw. It's right on the money. Olson slides to the outside porch. That's what saved him. Here it is from another side. He went right around the tag. That young man had quite a day.
And there's a pinch runner, Otis Nixon, and the hand, of course, is for Greg Olson. He is now 8 for 13 on the year. That is a .615 batting average, and folks, he won't end the year at that mark.
But it is smoking today.
Smoking. They got some serious speed out there at second, and they're going to call time, a whole bunch of Reds players, because lo and behold, after a weekend of cloudy weather conditions here in Atlanta, guess what?
It's finally out.
You can see your shadow. The sun is out, and that is the reason for the visit by the second baseman and the shortstop and the center fielder. They need some sunglasses. They've got them, and they'll head back to their respective positions, and Scudder will stay loose. And it was sunglasses day here at the ballpark.
That's a very intelligent approach by those young men on the field to go in and get those things now, because if you wait between innings, the manager don't want to hear about it. I missed it because it didn't have the glass. Good time to get it.
They've done it. Larkin gets him on. And now Scudder's got to bow his back. Big hitter here in Belliard with 1 out, but don't totally dispel the possibility that Mr. Nixon might not try and steal third.
He sure had his share of it.
Boy, everybody's scattering in here.
Hit right in the middle of her chair.
Tell Mr. Coleman, Melinda, everybody running from a foul ball, please.
It's a good thing she ran because it got the middle of her chair.
It's not that tough. Did not knock over a cup. That's amazing. One strike count as Scudder delivers. And it's even. Rather, it's 0-2 as he battles to get out of this inning unscathed after giving up the 2-base hit to Greg Olson. Charlie Lebrand on deck. Belliard today has struck out and grounded out to third. No balls and 2 strikes. Each club now has collected 4 hits today. The only hit not owned by Greg Olson. The triple in the first by Deion Sanders. And Scudder very well aware of the fact that Nixon may well try and steal third, paying a lot of attention to him. There's nothing wrong with that. Scotty has to compensate in some way because he's not the quickest in the world going to the plate.
He stole 50 bases last year.
Yeah, he can fly. In fact, they've got maybe the two quickest there is in this league. Two quickest there are, I should say, in Sanders and Nixon. A ball. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning with the Braves up by a run. After losing the first 2 games of this series, they are bound and determined not to let the Reds leave here with a 3-game sweep. There's Larkin breaking in behind Nixon. He dives into the bag.
Undoubtedly, Scotty didn't have a good grip on the ball because Larkin was there.
There was a brother combination at one time in the major leagues. Otis and his brother Donnell, who was last with the San Francisco Giants, but as best we know, not around in the big leagues at the moment. So Otis carrying the banner of the Nixon family. There he goes. Got a good jump and a base hit into left field. 3-1 Braves.
Yes, sir. That was perfect. He had Chris go into the bag. 2-strike base hit. Isn't it amazing what that speed will do?
It really is. And needless to say, that's a mighty big run, given the way Charlie Lebrand has pitched today for 7 innings.
Here he goes. Boy, what a jump.
Yeah, he had third base stolen, Gordy, no matter what Belliard did. There would have been no way in the world Jeff Reed could have thrown him out at third. That's the kind of jump he had. And, of course, that has to do with the fact that Scudder's not the quickest in the world in going to the plate once he makes a commitment to throw home. So here's Lebrand. Caught by Reed, and the throw to...
Lead the Reds 3-1. Mike Heath has taken over behind the plate now. Greg Olson lifted for a pinch runner, Otis Nixon, who scored that big run in the bottom of the 7th.
Boy, that was a big one.
Rafael Belliard coming up with that RBI, his 4th of the year. All of them against the Cincinnati Reds. Billy Hatcher, Barry Larkin, and Glenn Braggs for the Reds in the 8th inning.
It's getting late, partner.
Reds down by 2. Hatcher had a sacrifice bunt in that 3rd inning when the Reds scored their lone run off Charlie Lebrand today. And he takes the strike. He's also foul to right. Play on which David Justice made a nice running catch. And he's bounced to 3rd. There's a drive deep to left field, but way out of play.
That's one of the few pitches that Charlie Lebrand has thrown above the waist today.
He's really been on the top of his game. Lebrand 1-0 lifetime against the Reds. He shut him out, a complete game shutout, a 6-hitter last June 19th here in Atlanta. He's allowed only 1 run and 4 hits today. And away. Now the former Red delivers. And Hatcher goes fishing. He's out on strikes. For Charlie Lebrand, that's his first strikeout of the afternoon.
He is, as we discussed earlier, he has really been fooling these guys today. They've had some awful swings at him.
As we look at the Valvoline National League scoreboard. Phillies came back to win the 2nd game of last night's doubleheader, and they have the lead today against the Cardinals. And we'll check the American League in the bottom half of this inning. Barry Larkin batting. Barry has the Cincinnati RBI today, his 6th of the year. Foul off of first base and out of play. Both clubs heading to the airport after the game. The Reds flying to Houston, where they will wind up this road trip. And the Braves are going to L.A. to begin a 9-game road trip. They'll go to L.A., then to Houston, and then to St. Louis. Braves, as a matter of fact, play 15 of their next 20 games on the road. That misses to Larkin. 2 balls and 1 strike. 3-5-0 for Atlanta, 1-4-0 for Cincinnati. That's out of play, right side. It was very cloudy and overcast here in Atlanta through most of this ball game, but now there's a little blue sky up there. The sun is peeking out, and the Atlanta Braves bullpen is going to go to work. 2-2 to Larkin. Up the middle. Belliard's been busy today, and he gets Larkin. 2 out in the 8th.
That little fella covers a lot of ground.
Rafael Belliard played several years with the Pirates and came over here as a free agent during the offseason.
He's not a very big man, but I'm going to tell you one thing. He's got a pretty good arm.
Yes, he does. Well, here's Glenn Braggs. He's 0 for 2 with a walk today. Braggs and Liebrandt very familiar with each other. They saw each other quite a bit over in the American League when Braggs was playing for Milwaukee and Liebrandt for Kansas City. 2 balls and no strikes now to Braggs.
Well, coming into the ball game today, as you mentioned, he'd seen him several times. He'd been up to 31 times against him. He only had 7 hits, but one of them was a home run. So maybe he can improve that today.
The Braves lead it 3-1. We're in the top of the 8th inning. Strike 1 call. 2-1. The Atlanta Braves haven't played very well at home in the early part of the season. They've won only once here while losing 6 ball games, but they have the lead today.
They've had the same problem the Reds have. They just haven't scored a whole lot of runs.
Right. Strike is called. Now it's 2-2. Over the last 3 games prior to this one, the Braves had scored only 6 runs on 15 hits. Today they have 3 runs, 5 hits. The pitch. Line shot. Good looking base hit by Glenn Braggs.
Get that ball up. He normally doesn't do that.
First hit of the day for Braggs and the 5th for the Reds.
Maybe that is one of the reasons that Mr. Cox has 2 youngsters firing down in the bullpen, because Charlie coming up like that may be an indication that he's getting just a little arm weary.
Looks like Doug Sisk, a right-hander, and Kent Merker, a left-hander, in the bullpen. Well, the Reds bring the tying run to the plate in Mariano Duncan. Big cut by Mariano. Doug Sisk on your left, Kent Merker on your right in the Atlanta pen. One on, 2 out. 2 strikes now to Duncan.
2 pitches, same spot, same pitch.
Charlie Liebrandt trying to put the scissors to the Reds' 4-game winning streak. He and the Atlanta Braves lead 3-1 in the 8th.
He tried to get it, go for it for the 3rd straight time.
Duncan held up, and it's 1-2.
See if he comes in on it this time. He's starting 3 balls the outside part of the plate.
Down low, the ball gets away from Heath. Down to second goes Braggs. And now he's in scoring position with 2 out in the 8th inning.
I'd have to say that's a wild pitch, wouldn't you?
I would think so.
Here it is again. The ball hits right on the ground. Hit right off the plate. But let's see how the officials score.
Now it's 2-2 to Mariano Duncan. If he can keep the inning alive, Todd Benzinger is due up next. Up the middle, it may drop, but here comes Gant. He can't get there. Base hit. Here comes Braggs to score, and it's a 3-2 ball game.
Just a little flare. Hit it right off the end of the bat. But the Reds will take it.
And so will Duncan, who came into the game with only one base hit for the year. He has 2 today, 2 for 4.
Hey, we'll check her out again. Look at this. Right off the end of the bat. Both of them are coming in. It just is in no man's land. Nobody can have it.
Now the tying run is on base. With 2 out, and Todd Benzinger is batting. Benzinger's hit 3 ground balls to shortstop today. 1 went for a double play. And there's a liner to short. The inning's over. 1 run, 2 hits, 1 left. Bottom of the 8th coming up. Braves 3, Redmond lead heading to the bottom of the 8th inning. And the Braves have the top of the order. Deion Sanders, then Jeff Treadway and Ron Gant. Scott Scudder, the Reds pitcher, came on in relief in the 7th and gave up a run on 2 hits.
Benzinger and Sabos are in at the corner.
This fella can really move. Knee on Deion, and there's the bunt. It's rolling foul along third. 1 strike.
I'll guarantee you one thing. They're not going to catch it by surprise because they're waiting for it.
Sanders a triple and scored a run in the 1st inning. Bounced out in the 3rd. Thrown out in a very close play by Mariano Duncan. And lined to right in the 5th inning. And that is away from Sanders. 1-1. Jose Rio worked the first 6 innings, gave up 2 runs and 3 hits. Now 2 balls and a strike to Sanders. The Atlanta Braves. Of course, this is the Braves franchise that actually started as a charter member of the National League back in 1876 in Boston. Lifted. Shallow down the left field line. Larkin and Braggs fighting that sun. And it is Larkin who makes the catch.
Look at that snow cone, man. That ball would have been a lot easier for Braggs to have caught because he was coming in at it. That was tough play for Berry. Here, watch this again. This is tough play because Braggs is coming in. He's got to call Larkin off that ball. He took it right under Braggs' glove.
Sure did.
Plus, you could have got some folks hurt there. If that's tough. Berry should have just kept running out of the way of that play.
Jeff Treadway taking low, ball 1. Against Sabo, up shallow at 3rd on the grass. As Treadway takes strike 1 call.
The thing is, in a situation like that, because Berry's going to go back as far as he can go into the outfielder calls him off.
And of course, it's always an easier play for that outfielder coming in on the ball. There's a strike, 1-2. Base is empty, 1 out, bottom of the 8th. Scudder delivers. And there's one lifted to left. Braggs has this one lined up. Makes the one-handed catch. 2 men are out in the bottom of the 8th inning. And here's the Valvoline American League scoreboard. The hitter is Ron Gant. Gant really struggling in the early going, batting at 111 right up to the minute.
Somebody will pay for that before the year's out.
You're right. This is a man that hit more than 30 home runs last year. There's a liner, Low line drive taken on one hop by Larkin, and he throws out Guillen. A 1-2-3 inning for Scudder. We go to the 9th inning in Atlanta. For the Reds, Paul O'Neill leads off against relief pitcher Kent Merker and takes a strike. Merker, just 23 years old, out of Dublin, Ohio. Looking for his first save of the year. Slowly hit. Pendleton has to hurry, and he gets it.
Now you see where the Gold Glove came from. That's a nice play.
Pendleton had to get in there in a hurry to get that little bouncer off the bat of O'Neill. One out in the 9th inning. And a special Reds Network salute to Nationwide Insurance agent Roger D. Call, winner of the 1990 President's Conference Award. For all your insurance needs in West Virginia, call Roger D. Call. One out in the 9th inning. Jeff Reed has not batted today. Came into the game in the bottom of the 7th inning. After Joe Oliver went 1 for 3 and was lifted for pinch runner Chris Jones. One strike. Say, remember, when you're having good times with good friends, drink responsibly, because friends know when to say when. A reminder from your friends at Budweiser. One ball and one strike. Merker with a pitch to Reed. And he missed with it. Now it's 2-1. Three-2 Atlanta. We're in the top of inning number 9. There's strike 2 call.
This young man's got a real fine arm. He was our #1 draft choice in 1986.
He started him out as a starting pitcher and then moved him to the bullpen last year or the year before.
23 years old.
Jeff Reed last year did not play much, of course, against left-handed pitching, but when he got in there, he did a good job. He hit .360 against left-handers and only 25 at-bats. Now we have a full count to Reed. Luis Quinones has come out on deck to bat for Scott Scudder.
Well, with Oliver being out of the ball game, if Reed's fortunate enough to reach first base, I don't believe it at this point Mr. Piniella can pinch run for him, because the fact that, you know, you don't have the third catcher per se, even though he represents a tying run. A little dilemma over to the bench.
Just in case, Bobby Cox, the Braves manager, has veteran Juan Berenguer loosening up in the bullpen. Kent Merker ready. 3-2 pitch. And Reed fouls it away again, so he's making him work.
He's battling well up there. That's a tough at bat too, Steve, because the fact, you know, when you really don't play against left-handers, you don't see him. You know, it's really strange seeing the ball come at you from that angle.
Jeff Reed had a big hit in that game last night. A 9th inning bunt single to drive an insurance run. And he fouls another one away. It's still 3-2.
So he's having his cuts.
Norm Charlton will pitch tomorrow night for the Reds in Houston, opposed by Xavier Hernandez. We'll have the ball game for you along the Reds television network tomorrow night from the Astrodome.
Well, we know how tough those Astros can be there.
Ball 4. Reed works Merker for a walk.
So they're still hanging.
Good job by Reed. Looking him over, draws a walk, and now Luis Quinones comes up as a pinch hitter. Boy, did he do a job as a pinch batter a year ago.
Sure, he had some great numbers last year.
That's how he did. Right there. Matter of fact, only 2 major league players had more pinch hits last year than Quinones.
One of them's right here, isn't he?
That's right. Tommy Gregg of the Braves led all the major leagues with 18, and Mickey Hatcher, who is no longer active, had 14 pinch hits for the Dodgers. Swing and a miss, strike 1.
I saw in this morning's paper that Hatcher said he wanted to go back to the Dodgers and they didn't even pay him.
Knowing Mickey Hatcher, he meant it. He was serious.
He just wants to be a Dodger.
Kent Merker working for the Braves on Luis Quinones. Strike 2. Now it's 0-2.
Good breaking ball. This young man, if he stays healthy, he'll have a pretty good future. He's got a real fine arm.
He's a youngster. He's ready. Reed, the runner at first with 1 out. Got him on 3 pitches. Now the Reds are down to their final out. Chris Sabo will be the batter. St. The Reds Television Network welcomes W43AG Channel 43 in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. WEVV Channel 44 in Evansville, Indiana. And WEMT Channel 39 in Tri-Cities, Tennessee. And of course our flagship Channel 5. WLWT Cincinnati. Game on the line right here is Sabo bats against Merker in the 9th. Jeff Reed, who drew a walk, is at first. 2 men are out. Reds trail by a run. 2 balls and no strikes.
I'm going to tell you what, partner, he's getting it up there pretty quick.
But Chris Sabo's the type of hitter, if he makes a mistake, can turn it around.
Good fastball hitter, you betcha.
.20 pitch. Ball 3. The on-deck hitter is Billy Hatcher.
Okay, partner, you're down a run. It's 2 outs in the 9th inning. You got 3 balls on the hitter. Do you let him go right here?
Good question.
Let's see if Manager Lupinella does.
There's a strike called.
You wouldn't have swung it that way anyway. That's a tough pitch to hit.
Merker had 7 saves and 4 wins out of the Braves bullpen last year. 3-1 the count. Here's his pitch. Strike 2 call. So now we go down to 3-2 with 2 out in the 9th. Braves fans getting to their feet. 1 on, 2 out, 3-2 to Sabo. Fouled away off first and back into the crowd.
What a way to spend a sunny afternoon. 3-2. 1-run ball game. 2 out in the 8th.
The Reds' 4-game winning streak on the line. Merker has just paid a visit to the rosin bag. He is now ready. Pop foul again by Sabo. He's still alive.
Ooh, nice play in the stand. Oh, he dropped the ball. Get his glove ready, but he turned his hand over.
Three and 2. Short right. David Justice is waiting. The ball game is over.